Mate padeon Dio. Mate padeon Dio.
All right, so I'm still having problems with latency here, so I'm hearing my echo of myself in the room, so that's kind of distracting. I forgot to change the title of this live stream. This is going to focus on health primarily, at least the first portion of it. Good to have you here, Tom. Um, Probably need to turn this down a little bit. Can you hear me fine? Trying to trying to determine my levels here. It's really kind of hard for me to know I have my volume turned down quite low in order to compensate for the latency that's occurring within the room. So I don't hear myself talk and then hear myself talking again right after I get done doing it. In other words, there's a delay in this room. So, okay, fine, thanks. The levels look okay, but I just don't want them to peak out and distort. So, all right. I'll go ahead and change the title of this when this stream is finished. So I'm going to, again, this is intended to be about health. And so the first hour or so is going to focus on that. As far as my regimen, the things that I do and things that I would recommend for others to perhaps look into. Not a doctor, so I can't give any advice on anything specifically other than just suggestions. Things that have worked for me over a long period of time of looking to maintain a better health condition for myself. It's a long, long story. This all begins back when I was 6 months old. So, again, it's a long story. I'm 64 in body. All right, and one of the key things that I realized as being most important within one's dietary regimen is electrolytes. People don't get enough salt, and they don't get enough of the right kind of salt. It doesn't have to be expensive salt. That's just according to taste is where you're going to pay that extra dollar, so to speak, for salt that tastes good and it's supposed to have more minerals and all this else. That's really not that important. What is important is a good sun-dried sea salt, something that's inexpensive. It shouldn't run you any more than $5 for a pound. Okay? And I will show you what I actually have. And then I'm going to configure, I'm going to give you the recipe here that I took from Element. That's for those who may be familiar with. Element is, or LMNT, NT, is a company that produces electrolytes. And it's a real simple recipe. They have it right there on their website. And so I just configured it according to that, which is 3 ingredients: sodium, potassium chloride, which is also potassium salt. Potassium chloride is just the scientific name for it. And magnesium malate. And I'm going to give you the recipe here in a second. I'm going to put this together for myself and drink it online because I haven't had my electrolytes today. Normally I have them first thing in the morning, but I didn't do that this morning, so I'm going to go ahead and do it. I waited for this to be able to do it since I delayed that. And what I use to mix within, this is just my preference, is because I have a few of these, is a mason jar. Okay, I will put the ingredients in here dry, add a little bit of water, and mix it around, okay, until it dissolves. The reason why I like the sea salt, that is the sun-dried sea salt, is because it dissolves quickly, okay? And so let me get on with that here, and then we can move on to other things. All right. Oh, just as a footnote, if you can afford to pick up a copper cup, I would recommend it. You don't, if you're drinking water or whatever and you let it sit out, you don't have to worry about bacteria building up because copper assists with not allowing for bacteria to build up in your cup. It's sort of like a antibacterial metal. Okay, so put that over here. Here's my measuring units. All right, so for the salt, 1/2 teaspoon. Okay. For the sodium, 1 heaping teaspoon, by the way. And for the magnesium malate, 1/4 teaspoon. And for the sodium, potassium chloride or potassium salt, 1/8 teaspoon. Pretty easy to remember. I have the recipe and everything in Patreon. If anybody wants to go over there, they can get access to it. All right, so for the sea salt, like I said, I prefer to be kind of coarse. A heaping teaspoon, it doesn't really, it can almost, a heaping half teaspoon, it can almost be a teaspoon. It doesn't really matter. I don't consume very many carbs. I only consume carbohydrates when I have to, like when I run out of food. But because of my stomach and my long-term experience with being vegan and all this other stuff, it about destroyed my intestinal tract. It's a long story, trust me. It doesn't work for us. The teeth is not the indication of what we should be eating. It's the intestinal tract. We cannot digest fiber, and especially if you go raw, dangerous. I've known people, and I can name names, who have lost their intestinal tract at an early age because of being a vegan and going raw, in fact, for not even as long as I did, and they lost their intestinal tract because of it. All right, so I am strictly on animal products at this point, and will continue to do that until things change. I had almost lost my stomach as well. So, all right, so go back to the electrolytes here. So another reason for the electrolytes is because I'm not getting the sodium through carbohydrates. I burn fat instead of carbohydrates. Okay, so I have a 70 to 30% ratio in regard to the food that I eat, which is again animal products. Anything, if dairy, I'm able to eat some dairy. If it's raw, I can do it. If it's not raw, I can tolerate it, but it doesn't really work very well for me. But I've been introducing stuff as I'm able. I like eggs, but a good sourced eggs. But eggs have been really expensive here, and so I couldn't afford any eggs. So for the last month, I haven't eaten any eggs. Where I had some, but not like what I regularly would do. I eat once to twice a day. It depends on my activity now, because I've developed a regiment as far as my physical regiment, so I can strengthen myself, strength training and stuff like that. Very, very slow process. I have an enlarged heart, yada, 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 yada. Long story short is that this has been a long, long road. Just saying, it's important to do everything slow. Anything that you're doing, whatever it is, even if you feel really healthy, just go into it and dip your toes in it. Switching over to carnivore was not an easy thing to do. It was very hard. The carbohydrates, and the lectins and the oxalates that are within carbohydrates build up in your body. It's a crystallization that occurs in your body. And when you start to go through withdrawals because of this stuff, and it's brutal. For the first 2 weeks, it's brutal. But if you can get over the first 2 weeks, that first 2-week hump, you're, and especially within the first 30 days, you're doing pretty good. And so, all right, let me put this in here. It's like I forgot what I was doing. Right, which one is that? Oh, there it is. Okay. All right. And so, going over here to the magnesium malate. Now, magnesium malate is normally what those who exercise, bodybuilders and stuff, they usually take this. So, nice level teaspoon, because this stuff's expensive. Okay. I would recommend I tried to get an affiliate for this, but I couldn't get any affiliates for any of this. So because I need the money desperately at this stage. I never treated this channel from a revenue point of view ever, and now I'm finding myself from where I'm at. I really need to. I don't have a choice. So, all right. So that's a quarter teaspoon of magnesium malate and potassium chloride or potassium salt. I would recommend buying this stuff in bulk, like with what I'm doing here, so that you can make it rather than buying it already pre-made, because it's a lot more expensive that way. And you can just get in the habit of doing it yourself. And then, you can adjust what you do. I like to make sure the potassium chloride is an even measurement. Okay. It depends, but sometimes twice, maybe even 3 times a day, I will do this electrolyte drink. In the summertime especially, winter not so much, just once it seems to be okay. But occasionally, depending on the circumstances and how I feel and everything, perhaps 2. And when I first started this, when I first switched over to this, I had to get up in the middle of the night and drink this concoction because of the way my heart is and everything like that. Now that I've been on this, I've been doing electrolytes and consistently carnivore for almost 2 years and electrolytes for about 8 months. I've noticed a great improvement as far as my sleep and my heart does. It doesn't sound like it's going down the street like a car that has a front flat tire and a back flat tire. Now it beats more evenly, and I can sleep through the night pretty much. And I'm greatly thankful for that because it's been just crazy. All right, so I just mix in about a couple ounces or an ounce or so, just to mix it up. Okay. And like I said, the sun-dried sea salt will dissolve quite quickly. If you're using anything that's coarse or a Himalayan like that, it's going to just be, you don't want it to be coarse, you want it to be fine because it'll take forever. But like I said, it doesn't need to be expensive. Like a pound of sun-dried sea salt or 1.5 pounds of what I have cost me $4. So it shouldn't cost you any more than $5. Buying stuff online, I found because there is like a demand, I wouldn't buy it online. If you can get local, that's the better way to go because it's more expensive online. Most of everything is. So I want about 16 ounces of water. So I have a 32-ounce jar here, this mason jar, and that's a little bit more. That's more like 17 ounces of water, which is fine because that was a pretty good heaping. Teaspoon, half teaspoon, well, it's more like close to a teaspoon of the sea salt. And then I just drink it down. This is the first time I've been able to do this today, so I'm doing it on camera. Oh, that was good. Delicious. Very, very good, very good. I feel better as soon as I did that, So, again, just to recap, as far as what I'm talking about here, talking about health, talking about my own regiment, things that have caused improvement for me, the things that I come to find to be essential. And one of those here is, let me see here, sodium. Again, my diet has virtually no carbs in it whatsoever. Okay. And thank you for the super chat, Tom. Single dad having to tap into the matrix. Yeah, it's tough, man. I highly respect you, brother. Heal this important and to repair. Yeah, I have huge problem with the teeth. Growing up, I'm 64. They put mercury in my teeth early on. Virtually all my teeth has mercury in it. It's so devastating to your health. It's a crazy world, isn't it? Crazy, crazy, crazy. So, um, speaking of cancer, there's a couple things. Yeah, I was going to get into that a little bit. Thank you for the super chat, and thank you for uh, commenting about that and sharing that with me. Um, well, sharing it with everybody that's here. Yeah, so I'm going to get into that in a second if I could, because I always wanted to touch a base on that. It's been a long road for me to figure things out. I was doing like everything except for eating dirt, you know, to be, just trying to figure out stuff, and it turns out to be a lot of basic things that are easily overlooked. And again, go back to the electrolytes. The electrolytes is essential, and that's, like I said, that's created a great improvement over time. Now, I've had mineral deficiency, and I was starving. You can eat and get a big belly, and you're still, malnutrition obviously be there if you're not absorbing. If there's the quality of food and your condition in your intestinal tract, if that's not balanced, if it's not healthy, you know, yeah. So you can see somebody that's like really heavy and obese, and people would say, "Oh, they're not malnourished," and it's like, yeah, they are. They really are. You know, and you can see it especially with people that will have a really big belly. Because of the, yeah, it's a long. Like I said, I almost lost my intestinal tract because of being vegan and going raw and doing things. It's a long story. Again, go back to the simplicity of what I'm trying to communicate here. Is like, here's the solutions for me. The solution was get on an electrolyte regimen. Your magnesium, especially for me, I had a magnesium deficiency, and it takes at least a year in order to fix that. It's not like a quick fix. I'm going to take a few supplements and everything's going to be better. It doesn't really work that way. It first initially starts off with your intestinal tract. Your intestinal tract, if you're not healthy, if that's not healthy, then big problem. And so this kind of leads me into where I'm going to go next. And this has to do with cancer, and it has to do with parasites. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. All right, there's a couple things that I know that are beneficial to this. And one of those things is fenbendazole. Okay, fenbendazole is known as a dewormer used in animals, anything from horses to dogs. And usually this is what kind of spooks people away from it. However, this is extremely effective for parasites. Yeah. And so you could just buy it regular. If you can just find a good source, fenbendazole, and make that part of your regimen for a period of time. I would say, because we're talking about cancer, parasites. It's the information that's coming out now is that the real factor behind cancer is parasites, because of how it affects it. Oh God, I had huge problem with them boogers, man. Especially when I was eating a lot of uh, greens and stuff like that. People think that it doesn't exist if you eat. No, it carries more of that stuff than you know. Anyhow, fen, fenbendazole. Okay, look for a good source of that. And the other is what I have a link for this, and it has a great deal of medicinal properties to it, and that is blue methylene, or methylene blue. And if you go in the description, you can go down through the description and you can see that link. It's an affiliate link for me, and there is a coupon code that goes along with it there. But that is, it's kind of becoming very well known at this point. I haven't taken it. I can't afford it. I can't afford anything. Honestly, I live way under poverty, and so I was hoping that through you know this affiliate link that I would be able to um, try it, as well as take some other things that I've been wanting to take that's been essential. At least I've coming to the conclusion that it's essential for me. Um, Anyhow, so that's what I wanted to talk about there, because the parasites, goodness gracious, there's so many different type of species that it can exist within your intestinal tract, and especially if you start having issues with permutation of your cell walls or leaky gut. They go into your bloodstream and directly inside. They go into other organs. They go into your brain. Everything else. It's just horrifying. It really is. And actually, methylene blue helps with that. It does many different things. One of the things that it does specifically is that it allows oxygen to be carried into your cells like nobody's business. The only thing that I could ever find that was similar or something like that would be a combination of ginkgo biloba and Gutta, and that had certain benefits, along with, if you can handle it, Korean ginseng or Panax and ginseng combination balanced out. But from what I see, as far as the science of what's going on in regard to the methylene blue, this is really what one wants to be taken if they want to further oxygenate their body, because our fuel is oxygen. And it's interesting, within the adenine thymine connection within the base pair DNA, that the adenine doesn't have an oxygen molecule, and that's because that was shut off in far as the tinkering around with our DNA code here. And you can guess who's done that. But long story short, yeah, this is something I would recommend. And if you're going to go get it, please use my affiliate link and go to the description within this video, the description box, and you'll find that link there. Hi, Daphne. Hi, Rugs. Yeah, well, everything's in balance, but if one has cancer, I'm not a doctor, but this is what I hear through testimonial of people who've had it. They went on fenbendazole, and after 3 months, they didn't have any cancer. And all the leading research now is indicating primarily where cancer comes from is parasitical infection. At least it's a major contributor to that, So anyhow, are the nicotine salts people are vaping messing them up? I wouldn't be inhaling anything. If first of all, I got scar tissue. I wouldn't want to do it to begin with. I got scar tissue in my lungs, but I don't see how that could be beneficial to anybody to do something like that. You're heating it up. You're changing the chemistry of it. You're putting it into a vapor form. I don't know. Most people don't know who's put it together. They don't know the science behind it. They just do it because it's on the market, or people say certain things about it. And usually problems don't show up until later, Yeah, so I would recommend not smoking anything, vaping or otherwise. There's always a better way to go about doing things. Oh, by the way, I'm going to be continuing live streaming on the weekends from Friday through Sunday. I will. It'll be the same time every time. Basically, about anywhere between 4:30 and 5. Yeah, I have a whole diatomaceous earth. I have a whole bag full of that. Actually, that's pretty good to put around. I don't know about eating it, but I it's good to put around like your house or something if you have ant problems and stuff because they don't really want to cross that barrier. As you well know, diatomaceous earth is just microscopic skeletons. So it's like they're like glass shards to insects. So they'll cross it and they'll end up cutting themselves up and then bleeding out. Popcorn lungs vaping. What's that? Popcorn. I don't know. What is that? What is that, Tom? Anyhow, I'll just refer back to the recipe for the electrolytes. It's the cheaper way to go. Okay. A pound of sun-dried sea salt shouldn't cost you any more than $5. $4 is what I paid, um, and that was at a local um, convenience market. So, and the potassium chloride or potassium salt, that can be depending where you get it, but you want it to be good quality. You can go to pure bulk. It's kind of pricey there. Most places it's kind of pricey. For like 250 milligrams, you're going to probably pay close about $15 to $20. I'm thinking, and that should last you for about a year because it's such a small measurement. Um, and so should the salt. Actually, it depends on how much you consume of it. I'm talking about throughout the day, how many times you'll have it, make a drink of it. But I would say probably about $50 will give you a year's worth of electrolyte supplement that you can, within bulk form. And now if you were to pay for it already packaged, like through Element, you're probably going to pay like $30 a month for it. So that's a considerable savings there. So you can get the recipe for that if you, or you can just go back and listen to this, but you can get the recipe in Patreon. Daphne retracted her message. Daphne, why did you retract your message? I'm sorry, folks. I have a tendency to. It takes a while for me to actually read it from here. I'm about, I don't know, about 5, 6 feet away from the computer. My screen is really not small, but my eyesight's not that great. So it takes me a while to actually see what's written. Each time I look, I have to go from blurry to not blurry. So it takes a while for me to readjust to trying to read. And if I start talking, I'm just kind of concentrating on what I'm saying, and I'm not reading it at the same time. So I'm kind of obviously doing those two things separately. So if I am slow on the draw into your in regard to your response, that's the reason why. Oh, okay. Now I see. Oh, okay. I see what you put there, Tom. Yeah. Oh, okay. Cool. Hi, Daphne. Hopefully, I'm not too far away from the mic. I mean, I get comfortable, and I'm looking at the levels, and they look good. Okay. It's hard to tell sometimes. All right. So again, just as a recap, and then we can move on. I'm going to be changing the title of this video. Of course, I mentioned that earlier because I forgot to do that. This is supposed to be about health and health regimen and diet and so on and so forth. But I think I covered pretty much what I intended to at this point. If anybody wants to bring anything up or discuss anything concerning any of this or anything else as well that may be related, that's what this is for. Please do. But I'm going to go ahead and change later on when I'm finished with the stream. I'll go change the title of this. Magnesium chloride flakes with water. Oh, if you're talking about like soaking, that type of thing. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Epsom salt, right? Epsom salt. Cool, cool. All right, yeah, just to refer back to the methylene blue, and that link can be found in my description. That's an affiliate link, okay? And there's a coupon code that goes along with that for those who may be interested in it. Um, I had planned, I put together a little PDF just to gives you a little bit of background on methylene blue when it was first synthesized and a little history on it and its application and that type of thing. Probably going to upload that in Patreon and just make it available to the public so you can access that if you want. But this is something I definitely want to be taking. I want to be able to take fenbendazole as well, make that as part because it's something I feel that I need to. If you have animals, especially if you have animals and cats, dogs, whatever, it's important to make sure that you that you deworm yourself. And fenbendazole is, from what I could see, the most beneficial. For lack of terms, I'll use the word supplement for that. You would do a cycle of it, and then you won't do it for quite a while. Then you'll do another cycle of it later on down the road, months apart from one another. Pacific time. Pacific time. Pacific time. Are you asking me the time, or I'm not quite sure of the question? Oh, a specific time. Regard to the streams? Yeah, 5 o'clock. Anywhere from 4:30 to 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time is when I'll do that. Food grade for supplement. It dehydrates. Paris. Yeah, yeah, but it also dehydrates you. I've tried a lot of things. I've tried a lot of things. Like I said, I can go get it if you want. I'll go in my closet and go get it for you. I have a big old bag of diatomaceous earth. Yeah, I know what it is, what it's used for. Um, so yeah, there's the benefits behind the fenbendazole, and certain critters you cannot get rid of with that. You just impossible because, like I said, they'll permeate your cell walls to get into your brain and everything else. So you have to kill them, and they are the primary reason for cancer. parasites. And there's a lot of species, everything from tapeworms, roundworms, to just you name it. Go look it up. It's disgusting as all can be. But man, you know, brain fog and all that other stuff, where do you think that comes from? Yeah. Not feeling good, feeling tired and listless, where do you think that's coming from? Yeah. Welcome to Earth. Fortunately, there's things we can do about it, but, you know, a lot of it's been tabooed or poo-pooed on because of the pharmaceutical companies and all this other stuff. So it's important to be your own physician, meaning to be studious about what is and what works and what, you know, so investigating, hearing other people's testimonials based on their life experiences, and in a lot of cases looking at the scientific, you know, literature, you know, not the fake literature, but the real stuff that's out there. And you'll find that through people that are credible, because the people who go through issues recovering from cancer and everything else, you know, their word is trustworthy. You know, it's valid. It's the most valid. So a lot of the other things that have been presented and given to us as being the way that we should do things, you know, chemotherapy and all this other craziness, we need just to be we need to be smarter, and we are smarter. That's the thing. You know, now there's loads and loads of information that you can research and find out for yourself. It's, you know, again, to emphasize, it's important for you to be your own physician. You should be your first physician. You know, that means educating ourselves, and it's been a long haul for me. I mean, I've done so many different things to try to gain health, and it's just such a long road. It would take like a whole library of books to explain the things that I've gone through in order to try to come to some of these simpler truths that I've come to. This world is not hospitable to the truth. Yes. Yep, that is true. Yep, mold, fungus. Yeah, I'm in an old home, and I know it has mold in it. It's a 73 Fleetwood, which is a mobile home, and so there's no installation, and there's been leaks in this place because of poor maintenance, and so there is definitely mold, and that mold starts to build up, and it turns into black mold, which is not hospitable to your health. That's for sure, you know. Yeah, yep. We have the spark within us, right? And you have to rely on your intuition in regard to those things, and be led with that. And then with that leading, look into educating oneself about things that you're being led. When I had gone through what I was going through with my upper cervical instability, when that went south in 2020, it was insane. And I was 24/7 suffering 24/7. I can't even explain half the symptoms, but I was led and forced down the area because I had nobody helping me to find out solutions for my problem. And so I highly recommend going within, because there's a feeling and a leading that's unquestionable once you tap into it, and that's your guiding post. And you know, and then you make sense of things as you are led, and you know. But I would, you know, highly recommend listening to people that have gone through, you know, very difficult things and found their solutions through those complications. They're not going to lead you wrong, you know. At least that's a good place to look and get that, you know, get those stories, get those antidotes for your process of figuring out what you need to figure out for yourself. Like methylene blue, there's a lot of information on that. It was first synthesized back in the 1800s, I think is what it was. I'm not quite sure. Don't quote me on that, but it's been quite a while. I mean, there's a lot of information on this and what it does, and you can look at the science behind it. Okay, and a lot of people are promoting this. A lot of people well known within this world, within position of leadership, are promoting this. You see Mel Gibson promoting this. You see a lot of people promoting this, the usage of methylene blue. So, it's important for us to look at things for what it is. Look at, fenbendazole and look at that for what it is, really what it is, and go down that rabbit hole. You'll find out quite quickly. You don't have to search very long before you realize how beneficial it really is. I have been for I think probably 6 years. I've been taking stuff like if I would have aspirin or whatever it was, because I work with my uncle who was a veterinarian. I worked as a veterinarian assistant. I came kind of be in habit of utilizing stuff that was used for animals. You'll find it to be a lot more pure than what you find like with an aspirin as an example, like within pharmacy, whatever. It has nanites in it. Okay, there's additives within it. You don't have that stuff in you. You know, got nanite particles and all that. You know. So I got in a habit of kind of leaning towards that to begin with. It's like, just because animals is like, oh, it's made for animals. That's just silly. One has to really just investigate it, and you'll see. Like I said, I worked with my uncle, and I would use antibiotics that were for animals, like especially topical stuff, and it worked the best for me. I had this inner ear infection, and I used that stuff once, and it cleared it up completely. So investigate, do your research. You don't have to go very far before you start realizing the truth, And again, being led in the process. So, but you got to put in the due diligence so that you know for yourself, Synthetic nature? Oh, no. Just look at the science for it, and look at the reports of what it is. You don't have to do it all the time. I wouldn't do it all the time. I just wanted to it's like anything, you can do too much of anything. And I know you're referring to synthetic, but you realize everything is synthesized, even food, in a lot of respects, So, it's what works. And it's the overall aspect of your anatomy and how your DNA works, because it works in conjunction and stimulates your DNA for oxygen production. Like I said, it's really something you want to. If you're reluctant about it, don't be reluctant about doing the research, because there's a lot of information available on it. And again, listen to people that have been using it. Not the people that are selling it necessarily, but real folks like you and I. So it's the information's out there. It's just, and the science is out there. It's just a matter of really just looking into it. And like I had mentioned before, I have like a brief outline that I put together within a PDF form that I'll make available to the public through Patreon. So all the links for my website, Patreon, my two websites and other stuff, it will be found in the description of this video. So I would recommend going to the description of this video and taking a look around. Okay, so not that I want to move on or anything. Does anybody want to talk about anything else? You want to talk about anything else? Anything concerning the multidimensional anatomy, anything pertaining perhaps to my book, my course on music course. Well, it's not really a music course. It's a course how to play the music that I composed for the Hi-Veka codes. Yeah, research, blood types. Yeah, again, it's really do the research. I mean, it's really when we're talking about the methylene blue, I come to know it well enough. I wouldn't refer it to anybody if based on what I've come to know about it and the science in regard to it, if it wasn't beneficial. But do the research, yeah, definitely. I start spacing off. I almost fell asleep. I start going off, and next thing you know, I was going into slumberland. I have no idea why that happened. Things have been pretty odd for me here recently, so I find myself actually, I could fall asleep with my eyes open. I kind of go off into like a dream world, and next thing I know, I'm traveling somewhere. Any thoughts on Greenland ship there that created the ice age there? Possibly disclosure. I don't know anything about that, Tom. Sorry to say. Um, I mean, we've had so many pole shifts here. It's hard to tell where things begin and end. And it seems to me that we're starting to come back on axis. The second sun's starting to come back out, which would eliminate um, the alteration that occurred it going on tilt in that pertaining to time zones, because time zones is not a natural thing that's been orchestrated. That's a long story, but it's supposed to be the same time all the time, everywhere, at all times for the entire world. And so, if some of the things that I've been seeing is accurate, meaning that it's not fake, it doesn't look fake because I've seen quite a few clips in regard to a second sun coming back in. Then probably based on what I've seen, 2027 is where it should basically happen completely. So we'll see. Still a KS, Keylontic Science. Well, Keylontic Science is a newbie. Not everything is accurate, okay? Let's just put it there. I guess I would have to be more specific about that, but there's certain things that are just not. There's distortions. What would that be, Randy? Oh, goodness. I can't believe I opened my mouth about that one. Some other time. It's contextual. It would take, I don't want to go down that road. I don't know why I just said that. Like I said, I'm kind of falling asleep standing with my eyes open, so gotta watch what comes out of my mouth at this point. How to overcome attacks when starting out a series of frequent Succubus attacks after performing. No, sorry. Okay. Yeah, the distraction thing. Well, number one thing is to understand you're not doing things and then things are doing stuff to you. Meaning, like if you do a technique, this is in context, so trust me, I'm going somewhere with this. If you do a technique, okay, and you're doing the technique, basically what you're really doing is aligning yourself and focusing, allowing for your intention to be focused concerning what you're doing. Okay? It's not the technique itself. The technique is just a tool, all right? Your intention is what's most important in the process. Now, if one is looking to do something like I'll use an exaggerated analogy here, but if one is doing something like they're pushing a button and expecting something to happen to them, don't do that, because things will, respond to that. If you're waiting for something to come, if you're waiting something to happen to you, that's not what's going on. You're co-creating, okay? Like the technique is a facilitating tool, and that's it, all right? So know yourself, who you are, and your surety. That's where I'm going with this. It's about knowing with a surety within you. And you hold within you the divine spark. That's all the surety that you need, okay? So if something does come, you hold your ground, you hold your space, and you just say no to it. You don't even pay any attention to it. The more attention one pays to those things, the more that it gives room for it as an invite to come into your space. I've heard plenty of things throughout my life audibly. I've seen plenty of things, and more than half of it I have ignored purposely. So what can you do? Well, you're doing the very thing. You're aligning yourself with your divine nature when you're doing the technique, okay? So there is, depending on your past, depending on what has been going on with not only you, but people that have been associated with, and so on and so forth. This is not a judgment. It's just facts. It's important to understand that some things will come through. And when you start doing things that moves you towards your divine or your divinity and remembering who you really are, the essence of who you are, those other entities will not want you to do that, right? That's pretty much it in a nutshell, okay? So standing in the gravity of your own shoes with an assurity of who you are. So ignore everything except for what you're doing. And, that's a discipline too. It's like renewing our minds to who and what we are as a daily practice. It's an ongoing thing. And the more that you do it, the better you get at it. Okay? If you have any more issues with this or anything increases, you can go to my website, you can get my email address, and you can contact me personally. Okay? This is kind of hard to answer, but hopefully I did. Standing in the gravity of your own shoes is about knowing who you are, and you have the spark of divinity within you. That's your assurance. That's your stability. That's your ground. Nothing can harm you. Nothing. It's just looking for permission to enter in, and it will do all kinds of things to trick you in order to do that. So don't pay any attention to it any more than just acknowledging that it was there. Not that it is there, but it was there. And realize that that's there, and just create this an energetic block for yourself. Like I said, I have heard, seen things, had direct contact and actually attacks directly, physical attacks. My life story is quite long when it comes to all this stuff. But you learn certain things. And one of the things that I learned is that you never respond back to something in an equal force. Best thing you can do is go neutral and just go within yourself and stand in the gravity of your own shoes. Give nothing, take nothing. That's what that state of neutrality is. There's a whole lot to be said about that. In fact, I probably should do a live stream podcast on that, because there's a whole lot involved with that. And it really boils down to a simple response. But you have to train yourself to be able to do that. It's not a normal thing necessarily. You have to come to a certain... I don't want to belabor this, but like I said, it really requires a more deeper explanation, which would be done within a context of a stream dedicated specifically for that. But hopefully I didn't overdo it there, if that makes any sense. Yeah. Does that help, Rugs? Like I said, if you have any more issues, you can always contact me, okay? Well, you know what's cool about that? That's kind of cool though, Rugs, because you could see it, you know. What I would do is dissolve the image. In other words, you don't consider the image, because the more you focus within yourself, that image will dissolve. Okay, don't allow the imagery to or anything, because knowing that it's there, the idea is like, oh, it's blocking me. No, nothing's blocking you. It's what it's trying to do is create a distraction. Okay. So, again, standing in the gravity of your own shoes simply means that personal conviction of your divinity, your awareness. You have that. So just focus within that. And I'll give you an example for myself. My intention means more to me than anything that I see. I do not allow things that I see to dictate what I do. And I would recommend this for everybody, because your intention is just as powerful, if not more powerful, than anything you can visualize. Okay? Just be clear within your intent. And if you make a certain space for your intention, which is a singularity of thought, a singularity of focus, that means it doesn't allow room for other things to come into it. And just, that's what I would recommend as far as meditation. Use that as your primary focus or primary guide within the focus of meditation, is that. Standing in the gravity of your own shoes, in your sense of sovereignty. I've experienced a few things within this incarnation, and one of them was being out of the body and being in the body at the same time. And I was in a state of what would be referred to, I guess you could call it, samadhi. And within that, there is no thought. That's what I experienced. There is no thought. There is no traffic. There's nothing. It's like being in the eye of the storm, so to speak. It's an eternal state of who I am. It has nothing to do with anything other than me. And anything that I would do would either be an act or a fact. And so that's really, truly what you are, okay, within you. And ignore everything else that's not like that when you go into that state of meditation. Just ignore everything else and just be singular and focus, regardless of what you may see or what may happen. Don't be moved or distracted from it. You're perfectly fine, you know. Only company that you need is your own. Me, myself, and I, the Holy Trinity. Thank you, Tom. Thank you. Thanks, Ruggs. Does anybody else have anything they want to talk about or anything at all? Anything related to what I've been um, looking to try to do? Oh, speaking of which, tomorrow, 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, there will be a workshop in Skype. So that link will be available um, in Patreon. And I'll put it in half an hour prior to the meeting because I'd like to be able to do it just before the meeting. That way there's not a whole lot of people that show up before that. Mainly if I want to be able to record it, if somebody shows up and starts the meeting, they have control over the recording of it. At least that's been my experience with the Skype thing. By the way, Skype is changing over to Team, and that will be beginning of next month. It will be no longer Skype, but it'll be called Team. So, and the reason why I use Skype because it's free, and I don't have a budget for anything. So anyhow, all the materials for the workshop can be found in Patreon. I made it available to all members there. I didn't make it available to the public because I don't really want to do that. There's too much work for just anybody to come in and take it. They have to have some kind of commitment, So, but all the materials, there's 8 PDFs up to this point. I'm in the process, kind of slow process, of putting together the ceremony in relationship to activation of the Taran. So that's going to be great. That's going to be awesome. And it's going to be in connection to that of the soul song or spirit song. I said I would come on here and do that, but I realized this is not the proper platform for that because it's quite intimate and it's something that has to be kind of developed in a workshop, And then so when the ceremony is done or that which is going to be the kind of conclusion part of it, everybody will be on the same page. They'll understand. Their intention will be very clear. And that's really been my motivation so that you don't have to memorize everything, but you have to have a good understanding of what your multidimensional anatomy is, and so that you can facilitate. Oh, okay, Daphne. I'll record it, and I'm not going to post it. I'll just leave it there where you can go there and get it, obviously. But I'll go ahead and record it. Thank you. Thank you for asking about that. Okay. All right, folks, what do we got going here? Almost an hour? A little bit over an hour, maybe. Like I said, I'm going to come back on here tomorrow night, same time. So I'm going to go ahead. I guess this is a good time to shut stuff down. Share this. Again, if you look to use the methylene blue, please come back here and use my affiliate link. Seriously, I should have been more expedient in regard to using my platform in order to create revenue, but things have been overwhelming, and so I'm just now starting to do that, which I'm way behind on everything. And I need I'm still counting pennies, so if just saying. It's the good quality. I was making sure that I got the right one and everything. There's knockoffs and stuff like that out there, and this is not one of them, right? At any rate, I think I covered pretty much everything. Again, we can pick this back up tomorrow in the evening, same time, same channel. Um, the workshop's probably not going to be that long because if there's a whole lot of energy that I'm going to have to be mustering up. And so I want to be able to do Friday, Saturday, and Sundays live. Um, I know it could be more consistent if I did it that way. So I probably will post within on YouTube a little quick video, just letting everybody know that live streams would be occurring on Fridays through Sundays in the evening, and give it the time for it, so everybody will know what to expect. I just haven't been able to lock that in until now. I just decided I just have to do it. A lot of things I'm trying to get done, and I'm working towards the event that my good friend Paul Garthwaite is putting together on the theater ships. And so there's music I have to get together and put together and record video for, and that's like a huge thing for me. And I want it to be as good as I can make it. So I just a whole lot on my plate and on my table right now, but I want things to be moving along and become much more successful than what they've been. You know, it's a lot of hard work, and it's been a lot of hard work, and so I will do as I am able. So I'll try to live up to my word. If things change, I will let everybody know. You know, that's for sure. Hopefully, I haven't talked too much here. I'm getting kind of slap happy, tired. So anyhow, anybody have anything else they would like to talk about, discuss before we go ahead and close this out? Any questions about anything that I'm doing, anything that you're doing? It doesn't, this is an open, half of the video here is supposed to be an open topic type of thing. So yeah, I wanted to be able to, as far as the event goes, Daphne, I want it to be as good as I can get it on my end, so that it can be repeatable, that it could be something that will continue, be an ongoing, events, because it's based on it's based on my book, Picking Apples Under the Milky Way. This is Paul Garthwaite's idea. It's entirely his whole idea, all of this. And if I was to do it, if I would come up with it, I would want to go through chapter by chapter and put it into music. Which would take like a year at least, full time, to be able to do that, which that's not going to happen. And plus I would need better musical equipment than what I have. A lot of stuff that I have is very cheap, and this is the most expensive one here. I bought this 20 plus years ago, but everything else is like $200 and $300. It's just, and mostly I have non-professional stuff, which I really need. But another thing for revenue, things break and need things to be replaced. So anyhow, yeah, I'm kind of meandering around about that because I've been going through things here pretty heavily, and I've just now came out of it. Working on my garden and excited to try a little, electroculture. What's that? I'm not quite, electroculture. Is that like a species, or is that a technique? Could you, copper wire? Oh, okay. To keep the varmints out? Is that what you're talking about? a varmint detractor. Electric fence. A little electric fence type of thing. Is that what you're talking about, Daphne? Oh, thanks, Rugs. Did I say thank you? I'm sorry. I'm kind of out of it. I forget that I have even said a few things. I may have. I don't. I'm not quite sure. It's supposed to help. Oh. Okay, I got you. Oh no, I know what you mean. I thought you were. Yeah. I thought you were talking. At first, I thought you were talking about a device, and that's what you were talking about. Okay. What are your thoughts on Phil Gruber, who still active in the KS communities? I don't really know too much about him other than him being one of the husbands of, you know, Anna Hayes, or Ashiana, as the person likes to call himself. Um, yeah, I, I, I don't really have nothing to say about it. I don't know the gentleman. I know that he had integrity because he had custody of her daughter, which wasn't his birth daughter. It was his stepdaughter, and he had custody of her. So I know he seems to be a very upstanding individual. So outside of that, I don't really know anything about him. So. Well, if I don't really know. All I can say is that um, everything after 2008, everything kind of went kind of south, and there's some things that are better than others. As far as within the Keylontic science movement, but after 2011, it went completely off the rails, and I wouldn't trust any of that after that. In fact, you'll find like the Voyager books, they're reprints, and you can't find any original prints. They're like updated, and they were updated in 2017, and so I don't know what to say about that. Other than use your discretion and don't follow anything. This is what I would recommend. Don't follow anything except for yourself. Okay. That much I can be clear about. Yeah, Kabbalah death mechanics. Well, like I said, I don't know about this stuff. I I I really don't know about too many people within the community all that much, because I don't have time to. Certain individuals have crossed my path and asked me if I knew this person, and and certain people I know of and I've probably talked to before, and some of them I actually like. Christopher Comstock, I know who he is, and I like Christopher. I like James Pover. I consider those individuals, especially James, as a friend. But I don't really know too many other individuals, um, especially some of the cats or cats. I sound like a jazz dude. Some of the newer individuals that have kind of come forth with the last few years. Um, what I've noticed online, and this is just my take because I've been online for 14, almost 15 years now, I guess, is that the online experience is quite weird. People are always looking for something new. And so they'll go from this place to that place and jump around, and they're always looking for the new thing. And I have no desire, nor do I have the financial ability to compete with anybody out there in regards to production and all this other stuff. What you see is what you get with me. And like with my music, I prefer to perform that live, and that's where it's best experienced. The thing about, I'm going over the map here, but the thing about the digital domain, the primal life force currents run differently or function differently within a digital domain other than an analog domain. And the analog, it's more free form and it flows more organically. The digital domain, it doesn't do the same thing. It functions differently. So you can get a residual effect through the digital format or this online experience thing, but it's not like the same thing as being present in the same room. I'm pretty adamant about that. Have been, but it is what it is. I've been conformed to a cyber cubicle. The online experience is great in respect that it's a great tool, Very thankful for the tool. It's an awesome tool, you know. Excited for you to be on YouTube on the weekends. Oh, yeah. I didn't really know what to do for the longest time because I couldn't really narrow anything down. But because I guess one of the main reasons for me coming to this conclusion is like, well, if I'm going to keep workshops going on on Saturdays, I might as well just make the whole weekend a ongoing thing. So it's just like, okay, I know what I'm kind of doing now. And hopefully, other people will catch on with it. And it's important to know what to expect. I first started doing these live streams, and I'm just kind of like winging it, not sure when I would be able to come on and that type of thing. So I just kind of made a decision based on around the workshop thing. Yeah, digital cubicle. So a little pixel. I'm in a little pixel land. All right, folks. I guess I'm going to go ahead and close this out. Would you like to listen to some music before I leave, or leave with some music? Yeah, Daphne. Like I said, not because I said it, it's just true. There has to be a consistency for people to expect. It's like, oh, he goes live Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays in the evenings at 5:00. They know what to do, right? If I just don't know where I'm going to come on, I just come on automatically. And last time I did that, nobody showed up. And it's kind of that's to be expected. But if there is a consistency, I can probably show up at any time, and there's going to be enough people aware of what I'm doing that it won't be a surprise, and I won't be speaking to myself. Okay, so what I think I'm gonna do here. Uh,
We are the love we've always been. We are the love we've always been.
right, folks. Thank you so much. We'll see you tomorrow evening. For those who wish to or can show up at the workshop tomorrow, the link will be available in Patreon 1/2 an hour prior to the meeting. So that will be 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time is when the meeting will be, and the link will be available about 11:30. Okay, so thank you so much. Blessings to you. Have a great evening, and we'll talk to you soon.